Namaskar. So we human beings don't come with an instruction manual, and as a result, we often don't know how to fully access all of our potential. We're not even aware that it exists. It's like somebody living in just one corner of a house and there's all these unexplored rooms. Now, the yogis developed the concept of Dharma. Dharma refers to the fundamental nature of something. And human Dharma has 4 parts. So this is going to be a series of 5 parts that's going to explore each of these aspects of Dharma in depth. Today I'm going to just explore overall the concept of Dharma. What is Dharma? How can we express it fully? And how can this lead us towards a life of much greater fulfillment and happiness? So Dharma refers to fundamental characteristics, the fundamental nature of something, what defines it. So if we look at fire, for example, fire's characteristic is to burn. If it cannot burn, then is it really fire? Or water, for example, is to be wet. So all of the universe, all of the different elements of the universe, all of the different beings in creation, each have their dharma. They have a fundamental nature. And when something is aligned with its nature, it is able to express fully. For example, I'm thinking now of a funny story, actually. There's this video on YouTube of a woman who's washing the dishes with her elderly father, and she says, "You know, how did you like that iPad that I gave you for Christmas?" And he's like, "Oh, yeah, it's good, it's nice." And she's like, "So, have you explored all of the apps?" And he says, "Apps?" And meanwhile, he takes the iPad and he cuts some vegetables on it. And her eyes are popping out of her head as she sees this. And then he, just cleans the vegetables off of the iPad and then takes it and then sticks it into the washing machine. And now she's really looking extremely shocked. And he looks at her and he says, "What? What's wrong?" So for him, the iPad was just this really nice surface for cutting vegetables. And he had no idea that it had all of these apps and all of these other potentials in it. I think sometimes, if the Creator could look at us, how we're using our bodies, might think also that, wow, I gave them this wonderful human body and they're only using it the same way that, if they had a simple animal body just to eat and sleep and procreate and so forth. These are characteristics that all of the animal kingdom share with us. Now, some people say, for example, that human being is just a rational animal. Now, my teacher said, that would be kind of like saying that a plant is just that an animal is just a plant that can move around. So obviously that doesn't make a lot of sense. There's something really fundamentally different between a plant and an animal, other than the characteristic that it can move, that a plant is usually rooted in the ground and that an animal is able to move around freely. So in the same way, there is a sort of qualitative difference between human beings and animals, just as there's a qualitative jump or difference between plants and animals as well. So what is this qualitative difference? The yogis were able to define this and look at 4 different aspects of human Dharma. Now, human Dharma contains as well animal Dharma. No, we also share the characteristics that we have evolved, like human beings, human forms have evolved over eons, over thousands and thousands of years. Our bodies, our glandular system, our nervous system, our brains have all evolved to have some very complex and subtle qualities. One of those qualities, for example, of self-reflection is something that you don't find in the animal kingdom. But we're going to look now at how to align ourselves with these qualities. So these 4 qualities are the need for continuous expansion, freedom, going past all limitations. Another characteristic is our need to be able to serve, to be able to love, to be able to give, to make the world a better place. Another one is our need to feel part of something much bigger than our small selves, to feel a flow, to feel part of that flow, to feel in harmony with it, to be able to follow our heart, our dreams, in the deepest sense. And finally, the ability of the human being to self-reflect, and not only self-reflect, but to self-reflect on its very source, on its very essence, and for our ability to merge ourselves into supreme consciousness, into the state of yoga, into the state of unity. So these are the 4 characteristics of Dharma, and we're going to be exploring each one of these in depth. This will help us to be able to live our lives in a more aligned way, deeply aligned with Dharma, deeply aligned with the universe. That way we're not fighting against nature, we're taking its help. It helps us to more fully express ourselves. You might have heard of permaculture. So permaculture, okay, when I say permaculture, first of all, many people just think it means, a certain style of gardening. It's really not that. Permaculture is about a deep understanding of natural laws, how they are operating in nature, and how we can align ourselves with what nature itself is trying to do so that we don't have to work so hard against nature. For example, when we are planting a garden, if you're doing it organically, one of your biggest challenges is keeping the weeds away from the plants that you're trying to grow. And so a lot of gardeners spend a lot of time, clearing, keeping the earth around the plants that they're trying to go clear of weeds. And that takes a lot of effort. Now, permaculture simply acknowledges the fact that, I thought this was such a beautiful metaphor, the earth doesn't like to remain naked. She's very modest. She will always try to clothe herself. And so what can nature clothe itself with most quickly? The most fast-growing plants. No, and these are our weeds. They're not the plants usually we're trying to cultivate, but they come up right away. And so if we understand that nature's trying to keep herself covered, doesn't like to be bare, then we can be choiceful about that. And instead of allowing just the weeds to come up, we can cover the earth with something called mulch, which is a layer of can be a layer of straw, can be a layer of decomposed, leaves, something that actually serves the purpose of not only creating a barrier so that the weeds won't come up, but it's also nourishing the earth, because that mulching layer is like breaking down and doing exactly what happens in a forest, and fertilizing and nourishing the whole system. So instead of just, getting rid of weeds, you are actually not only protecting your plants from the weeds, but you're nourishing the whole system because you're working together with nature. You're cooperating with it in an intelligent way. And when you apply this kind of principle of aligning yourself with nature and trying to understand what is the deeper purpose, what is the system trying to achieve, then, instead of just using the iPad to cut your vegetables, you can really achieve your full potentials. Unfortunately, we sometimes also do this with our human body, with our human potentials. We're only using a really limited part of our human potential. And we're not aware that there are apps, that there are other types of potentials that are there that we can tap into, so that we're working together with the nature that the universe, this whole design that the universe has of human beings being able to self-reflect on divinity. Not only self-reflect, but to become merged with divinity, to flow into divinity, to become one with it, to become a conscious part of the universe that's co-creating, co-evolving. So, the universe is evolving naturally according to laws like natural selection and genetics. No, to a certain extent, that is how beings and systems evolve. But when we get to human beings, we don't any longer just have to be passively evolved by only genetic laws. The reality is that human consciousness is able to start to co-create the universe. We have the ability to to use certain of our subtler aspects, such as compassion, and no longer do we need to just allow laws like survival of the fittest to determine how we function, how we evolve. For this reason, I also think, that even the development of technologies, we shouldn't be afraid of it. It is part of what human beings do in their co-creation of the universe, is that we start to evolve also technologies. We start to evolve also artificial intelligence. We start to evolve other aspects which help us to increase our own evolution, our own mastery of certain elements, but also other subtler abilities. Now, Dharma is interesting because all of the aspects of Dharma can be harnessed and just used in a very limited and materialistic way, or if we properly understand where the universe is taking us, and that it's taking us on a sort of journey of evolution of consciousness to become more and more compassionate, to become more and more subtle, to become more and more divine, and to be a channel for divinity to work on the planet through our through our small minds. If we're able to merge them into that universal flow, then that universal flow is working through us, and we're increasing its expression in the world around us. And that's the beauty of being able to understand and align ourselves with Dharma. One of my very early teachers on this path was, before I came into the yogic practice, was a Korean Zen teacher. And he had an expression that I thought was just so cute. He said, human beings, #1 bad animal, because human beings forget what human beings' job is. So, this is why when we're in nature, we often tend to feel a lot of peace and harmony, because all of the plants, all of the animals, all of the natural elements, they're just flowing according to their nature, according to their Dharma. They're fully aligned with Dharma because they don't yet have a choice. So they automatically flow. All of nature automatically is moving towards subtlety, actually. Means it's evolving. It's in a process of evolution, and ultimately it's going to evolve towards subtler and subtler life forms. And in the meantime, all of nature is acting according to different natural laws. And that's why it's such an amazing reservoir of metaphor, of wisdom, and of peace for us, because when we're immersed in nature, we're immersed in Dharma. We tend to get out of alignment when we're just in our heads and when we're just surrounded by our own thoughts and our mad monkey mind. But when we're in nature, we start to feel the peace and the oneness of the universe that's surrounding us. So the more that we are able to become one with our Dharma, the more that we're able to deeply understand it and to channelize the mundane or materialistic expressions of our Dharma towards the subtler capacities, the subtler potentials, our undiscovered, untapped resources, then our life can truly be fulfilled in a deep way, not in a limited way that just disappears and is ephemeral and that we're always chasing after, but in a deeply fulfilling way as we express more and more of that divine Dharma. So I invite you to follow this series. There will be 4 more parts to this. And also to not just stay in theory. No, it's so important in the yogic path, 1% is theory, 99% is practice. And so I hope that it will inspire you also to express and explore your divine Dharma through the practices of yoga and meditation that allow you to harness the deeper aspects of our human nature and to channelize them towards that universal oneness and to become part of, well, we're already part of it, but to become aware that we have that oneness with the essence of creation. So I invite you to take our meditation course if you haven't already done so, to subscribe to our channel, or to share your comments and thoughts. Thank you so much. Namaskar.